I'm sure she's fine.
A few weeks ago, we got a new showcase on Emberville, the upcoming action RPG being made by Signet Cross, along with one of my favorite streamers, Code Carnage. It's a game I've actually played at a very early build of and had a really good time playing. Wait, there's a chicken. Hey, wait, why are you running away? Don't run away, don't run, hey. Chicken, come here. Hi, how are you doing? And I am very late to this party because my house has been destroyed and I'm technically back, but also leaving. It's a thing, but I'm here now and I wanted to talk about it. What I didn't get to see when I played were some of the biggest parts of the game, the city of Emberville and the building and farming aspects that go hand in hand with its more dynamic combat. In brief, Emberville is an action RPG that may look and feel like Stardew Valley, but it also is heavily inspired by a whole host of other games like, well, hell, Diablo and its loot mechanics. It's an action RPG with an ongoing story, one that is haunting and seemingly dark, and combat with class dynamics, combos, and gear up to your eyeballs, along with building and NPCs and all kinds of storytelling. Oh yeah, and you can apparently even make freaking fishing ponds, because that's a thing that Code Carnage did.
And I was doing some fishing, and there was this fish there that I really, really wanted to get. So I could come down here and do some fishing just in the pond is here, but you know what? I think I'd rather make my own fishing pond. I'm gonna stick that there. Barrels over here, maybe put a little chair there, and then I could, maybe put the biome water that I want in there. So, yes.
Now, I mentioned Stardew early on here because, like Skyrim, it has overtaken discourse over games that look like this, as well as combine combat, farming, building, etc. But a key part was clarified early on in this showcase that will differentiate it from Stardew Valley. There will be no romances in this game. No Haleys, which is probably a good thing, because Haley was a jerk. She didn't like any of the gifts I gave her. She made fun of my shoes. No marriages, no awkward conversations, and this is all partially for lore reasons. For some who may have been following the game because it looks like Stardew Valley, this may have been a bit of a bummer. But I can understand why they went this route, and the fact that this is coming across as a deep lore reason as to why, not just we didn't think we could do it, so we didn't do it, or just kind of like shoving it in there because why it has to be there. Well, at least there's a reason for why, right? There's a reason to not do it. But that said, when a game chooses not to include romances, an RPG rather, chooses not to include romances, there's this little annoying voice in the back of my head that keeps asking, where did they cut it? Because as a writer, as an author, when I'm thinking of writing a story, I'm not thinking, okay, I can't include this because I don't have to think of mechanics. I don't have to think about like romance mechanics in my book, so it's one of those things where I'm like, where do you decide this is where the romance would start and this is where character development and platonic relationships are? That's where I wonder, because some games do it well, other games really just take a giant shit on it. So it's one of those questions I'll always have whenever a game, an RPG, decides not to go the romance route. Or I guess when they do, because sometimes it can just be forced. Generally, where do the connections stop? Where's the dividing line, the dividing line of connection? So that's why with this specifically, I'm holding on to those lore reasons for why this wouldn't work, because that feels much more thought out than just we don't want to do the mechanics. It's just our story doesn't allow for it. One of the first things I did notice in the early stages of this preview are not just because Code talked about it at length, but also because it is vastly improved from the version I played, were the sound effects. They're layered in and immersive and contribute more to the ominous mood of the game than anything else. Birds flapping their wings, different sounds in different areas. They work in concert with new visual effects like the fog rolling in over Emberville, or these dilapidated buildings you can enter.
You're gonna see a theme in the presentation today, and that theme is immersion. And one of the things we want about this game is not only to be delivering an experience that's really fun, but we want you to be in Emberville. So as you see it transition into night, you can see here what we're working with. Emberville is a dead town. Emberville has been dead for a long time. Nobody lives here. It's a town that has seen a lot of terrible things. And part of your adventure is going to be figuring out what those things are. Now, one thing you did notice is that there was a day-night cycle. We do want to stress that there is a day-night cycle in the game, but you do not have to sleep. However, if you do choose to sleep, you will get bonuses as you become more and more rested each day. But if you do choose to burn the midnight oil, you can do that too. It's up to you. So all of these assets that are here, these are all the things that we've been working on over the last time. You can hear every time we come close to different areas. There's different sound and immersive elements. Listen to the bird's wings. Notice it's not flying to the same place every time. You have some flies over here. Some excellent, excellent stuff here. As we kind of explore around, uh-oh, you didn't see anything there. As we explore around, you'll notice that even though this town is destroyed, some of these buildings look like you can go in them. Well, dang. Looks like we got something going on over here. Let's see if there's someone at the bar. Let's say hi. Or not. What about this guy? Okay.
Then there's this next part as I'm watching this preview and seeing, oh, that's a cool little dude that has like an arrow through his head, and that's kind of weird. And then listening to all the sounds and everything like that. But then there's this thing from a storytelling perspective that was really, really well done.
So I wonder what these things are. I'm sure she's fine. We'll just give this guy a little neck massage, right?
This is fantastic, creepy design that made me feel like I had stepped from Stardew Valley into a freaking horror game. And that just makes me really excited. Like, that moment in the preview gave me chills, and I generally don't get chills from games in this graphic style that don't, like, I'm on record as being emotional as hell. I cried like 4 times playing Expedition 33, and I love when games can evoke emotions, either fear, joy, excitement, trepidation, anxiety, sadness, all those emotions. I try to get those out of the storytelling in the games I play, and seeing that moment there has me so hopeful and excited. That, more than anything else in this preview, which wasn't focused on shit like that, has me more excited about this game than anything else, because I want to see how they do stuff like this and what kind of storytelling they do in the game. But that's not what this whole preview was about. This preview was more about building. We get to see building for the first time, one of the key pieces to the game that I hadn't been able to play. Interestingly, this building part isn't mandatory. You can just fight and progress the story. But the building looks fun enough that you're probably gonna want to. It looks pretty fantastic for depth, with each individual tile or item like the lights being put in individually for non-structures. As we see here, this entire build area, which has already been cleared up from rocks and trees for the showcase, but it's this big open empty area. Then we flash forward and we see a representation of everything that can be built by the player early on, including crafting elements, lights, paths, buildings, fencing. Ko even mentioned reactivity as well, that the lights will have bonuses and paths will make you run faster, and certain things may even attract things. When Ko mentioned that, it got my mind worrying, wondering how far they'll take that. Can you potentially build things that would bring ambient NPCs, like, I don't know, birds, owls, or more engaging things like enemies or allies? Building is on a tile grid and the structures look to be prefab, but the individual elements like barrels, lights, etc. are to be added individually. Like I said, Ko made a freaking fishing pond as well, like actually made a fishing pond in his little If I didn't know Code Carnage was making this game, now that seals it. Maybe that was in the contract that they signed. Must be able to make Fishing Pond. But one of the cooler things from the showcase is from the UI changes. Your UI will change when you're in a farm plot, building, combat, or fishing. You just go towards the thing and it changes it. I suck at managing things. I'm really bad. Like, I was already going to struggle with inventory management in this game. So having one thing I don't have to worry about, like changing out my tools and stuff like that, like a survival type game, you know, where I have to like go through all my things and micromanage between crafting and harvesting and combat and all that stuff and fishing, like that's actually really cool. And it's going to be a nice little quality of life feature that's going to exist in this game. We also get to see a bit of the Tower of Emberville progression system, something that's going to be huge for this game, as all of the townspeople add something major to the town that you get through the dungeon and other places. Class picking, quality of life quests, etc. The more you rebuild, the more the town changes. Even sounds, those sounds early on that had me interested in the sound effects. For example, the bar adds a soundscape of cooking food. 2 more buildings that adds like lighten the fog a bit. And then adding in a blacksmith, you start hearing someone working in a forge and an anvil, and the fog clears up a bit more. It's already looking pretty drastically different. And then we get to see, briefly, what it would look like when you're done. Oh, and who's this adorable big boy over here? I just want to be their friend. I hope they eat people or something. I hope there's something creepy and weird about them. Like maybe they survive off of the souls of the innocent. I need therapy. You can theme your town, but you won't be building it in the same way you're building in the other places. There's also questions about seasons, and if seasons are they're kind of in a wait and see state, basically to make it blunt, to make sure that the game isn't annoying with too many systems. I do think seasons or even just weather do a lot of heavy load lifting for immersion. They're like the cousin or sibling to the day-night cycle, which is already in the game. So I kind of hope that even if it ends up being mostly just cosmetic change, we do get some kind of weather or seasons or something, even if they don't have to impact crops and stuff. But lastly, there's one little small bit that we got to see in this preview that's unrelated to all this other stuff. That's about combat. And I, having actually played the game and enjoyed the combat, it was a bit floaty when I played, but having played it and enjoyed it myself and wanting this game in a lot of ways for the combat, this part was really cool to see.
Be checked out. Now, another thing that we've really been working on, and this is another thing that we're going to be talking about a lot more in the next update, but is the combat. Now, as you guys know, in games like this, it's pretty common to have left-click combat. That's kind of your light attack. And then you also have, you know, your right-click, your second attack. Now, something we're doing that's pretty cool is if you notice, there's a swing animation with a big white flare. We have pixel perfect hit detection in our game. What that means is wherever you see that white, if an enemy overlaps that, that's where they get hit. Now, the reason that's important is as you use a weapon like your sword, it's going to go up in skill. You're going to get better at sword 1. You're going to get better at sword 2. You're going to get better at sword 3. As you do that, you're going to start unlocking things that you can do as you play. Left click, right click. Left click, right click. That combo, after you've gained it, is going to have a special effect and graphic at the end of it. Then as you continue to level it up, maybe you can do other stuff. Now, some of these are pretty hard to do. That one right there. So like this one, for instance, you can see the actual hitbox of that attack is much larger. So for an attack like that, maybe it does less damage versus a target, but depending on how many targets it hits, it does more per target. So stuff like that is going to be a lot of fun for us to play with. And the combos are all done with both the mouse buttons. So left click, right click, left click, right click, left click, right click, left click, right click. So and the best part is these combos are not going to be completely additive. They're going to have effects on the weapons. So you're not just going to be spamming your latest combo every time. They're going to have effects that you're going to want to like potentially chain or build into.
Ko showed off a change in the combat, so of course, sort of like a combo system where, for example, you do a right click, and a left click, and it causes a combo. Or you do a left click, and a right click, and then it causes a different combo. All using these left and right mouse clicks and tied to weapon effects to add some depth rather than just spamming the right click and dancing about your enemies like, well, this. Oh shit, don't die, don't die. That was the wrong clip. I'm not that bad at games. I'm worse. In fact, if you want a better idea of what Emberville is and what it plays like, I definitely recommend going and watching this video where I actually jump in and play the earlier version of the game and get to see a little bit of how that combat works in their other huge part of the game, which is their giant expanding dungeon. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Flynn, and I hope you have a wonderful day.